Hey guys, welcome back. I did a video like this about 7 years ago when the last hurricane came through. And now I'm going to be doing another one here. These are going to be some games that I stored away to keep safe from Hurricane Milton. It was kind of crazy for us. My wife got her spider senses were tingling and she says we need to get out of here. It kind of came in south of us, but because the winds were on the north side, it got pretty bad here. So now I'm going to show you some pictures of what happened in this area because of Hurricane Milton. First up is our house from a few years ago. I was able to get this off of Google Maps, thank goodness. Pretty standard stuff. And now this is after Hurricane Milton. The winds got pretty severe in our area. There may have even been a tornado involved here. We're not sure. Thank goodness that we do have house insurance, though. And this was home to Classic Contagious Games for a good 6 years, up to about 4 months ago when we had to move out because they tripled our rent. I like to think God moves in mysterious ways. This was taken about a week after Hurricane Milton hit. You can actually see the water line where the water was at when it first hit this area. And the final picture, this is a housing development probably a good mile away from our house. We are much higher ground than they were. No, this is not lakefront property. This is the horrible flooding that we had in Pasco County. All right, now on to the games. Today we're going to be doing Atari games, handheld games, and my vintage computer games. This is either going to be broken up into 2 or 3 parts. There's a ton of stuff. It was like 2 big totes of stuff I set aside. I think it was only like 1 small tote of stuff the last time a hurricane came through. So let's get going here. We're going to do Atari first. This is a game I recently got, maybe in the last couple years, Frankenstein's Monster. One of my pride and joys that I did a video on this many, many years ago when I found it at a flea market, Sword Quest Waterworld. Now, this game has went crazy in price over the years. It's a really good game for the 2600. That is Hero. Another pretty cool game, Miner 2049er. We have got King Kong. We have got Crazy Climber. This is Springer. This is Tooth Protectors. We got Death Trap. The Quest for Quintana Roo. And Threshold. So those are the Atari games that I set aside. I kept them in my storage locker where we kept all our eBay stuff. As you have seen in the video or in the pictures that I took previously, here it got hit pretty hard. Our porch completely got demolished and not really flooding. We're super high land where we're at, but the unit where we kept everything, it flooded there, but thank goodness our storage unit was up on high ground. When I went in there a couple days ago, it was perfect. So I grabbed all my games that were in there and brought them back home. So now we're going to do the handheld stuff. Got some Game Boy Color games, a couple really cool ones. We got a boxed Dragon Warrior 3 and a boxed Dragon Warrior 1 and 2. Had these forever. Really, really cool games though. Now we got some Game Boy Advance games. These are all boxed. We have got Golden Sun Lost Age, Eye of the Beholder, and Fantasy Star Collection. Now we have got some DS games. We have got Dragon Quest V, Dragon Quest IV, and Dragon Quest VI. Then, there she blows, we got Dragon Quest IX. Then the Etrian Odyssey. This recently had a remastered edition come out for PC, like Steam. in some of the consoles. I still have my original copies of my Etrian Odyssey 1, Etrian Odyssey 2, and Etrian Odyssey 3. This is the Fire Emblem game for DS, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, Chrono Trigger, Pokemon Heart Gold, another really cool one. This is Legacy of Ys books 1 and 2. So this is a like the day one edition. It comes with the music CD in it, and the game is actually still factory sealed inside. Probably one of the most, well, definitely the most expensive, probably handheld game that I've got. That is Solo to Robo for the DS. And then we have got a really cool, amazing game. I still need to go and finish playing the game. It is Bravely Default for the collector's edition for the 3DS. So now I am going to get everything ready here, and then we're going to do my vintage PC games that I set aside. So now on to my vintage computer collection, stuff that I set aside because of Hurricane Milton. First up, we've got almost the complete series of the early versions of these games. They are near and dear to my heart. I played them when I was a teenager, into young adult, and into adult. So they are the Might and Magic series. We have got Might and Magic 1 and 2. This is a Mac version of it. We have Might and Magic 1 for Mac. Might and Magic 2 for Mac. Might and Magic 3. This is a PC-DOS version. We have got Might and Magic: The World of Xeen. This is Clouds of Xeen and Dark Side of Xeen for the Mac. Basically, Clouds of Xeen and Dark Side of Xeen, you could install them together and it would create what's called World of Xeen, and you could go between the two games, which is really cool. I have got PC versions of Clouds of Xeen. This is a big box copy. And Might and Magic Dark Side of Xeen. Alright, so next up, we're going to do some old strategic simulations games. These are from probably like early 80s, mid 80s to early 90s. We have got another series that meant a lot to me from the Atari 8-bit and Commodore 64 era. I have got not one copy of Fantasy, 2 copies of Fantasy, but we have got 3 copies in my personal collection of Fantasy. One of these is the Atari 8-bit version, one is the Amiga, and one is the Atari ST version of them. I've got 2 copies of Fantasy 2 for Atari ST. And then I have got a single copy for the Atari ST of Fantasy 3. Probably one of the best ways to play the Fantasy series is on Atari ST because it has some of the best graphics, and it's one of the only games for the 16-bit computers that you had all 3 games. The second game wasn't on PC or Amiga, so they missed out. ST had all 3 though. And anybody who watches my videos knows what my favorite game of all time is, again, because I played it when I was a kid. I have got Wizard's Crown. This is the Atari ST version, and a copy for the Atari 8-bit version. Then I have its sequel, Eternal Dagger, for the Commodore 64. All right, next up, we have got another pretty cool game, very early though, Questron, the original one for Commodore 64. We've got Realms of Darkness, which was kind of a weird RPG. They released for, I think it was Commodore 64 and Apple. This is the Commodore 64 version. Then, one of my favorite games when I was a kid, I had this for the Commodore and Atari 8-bit. That's what this version is. It's Temple of Apshai Trilogy. Had updated graphics. Kind of a dungeon crawl game. Now I've got a couple games that are also near and dear to my heart, a series that I absolutely love. I think I like Might and Magic a little more because of how it played. This was probably one of the earlier open world games. I've got Ultima 1. This is for the Atari 8-bit. I got this probably 5-6 years ago in the store when we took in those 300 Atari 8-bit, ST, and PC games. I kept this one for myself. And also, what I set aside was Ultima 2 for the Apple II computer, another really cool game. Next, we have, this is Chronicles of Osgorth, the Shattered Alliance. This, I believe, is the Apple II version. It's kind of like a war game, almost, fantasy strategy game. If I look at the graphics, it kind of reminds me of like the Wizard's Crown games. Would love to sit down and play this at some point. Another very, very cool game, Shard of Spring. It also had a sequel called Demon's Winter. I did not set that one aside. This was definitely one that's worth a little more. Some of these games I did not set aside just because they were expensive. I set them aside because they meant something to me, like the Might and Magic games. You know, they're 40, 50 bucks a piece, but they mean a lot to me, so I wanted to make sure they stayed safe. And there's a few, what I'm about to show you, there's a couple really expensive games that I definitely wanted to make sure stayed in good condition. This is Death Lord. I believe this is, yep, the Commodore 64 version. Neat little thing about this game, if you go to itch.io, the person, somebody made a what's called a Death Lord Reloaded, I think is what it's called, a Redeaded. They did updated graphics as far as they made the resolution like 1080p on it, so the graphics are really blown out, so it looks really nice. They also changed some of the classes and races in the game. They were very Asian Oriental-like, and they made them more fantasy-like, which was kind of cool. What the game was originally, what it was supposed to be, by what the creators said, the company Electronic Arts made them turn it into an Asian game, unfortunately, instead of more of a Norse, you know, orcs and goblins and, you know, that kind of stuff. So now my last three games are all factory sealed games. We've got Starfleet, the original Starfleet, for Commodore 64. As you can see, it is factory sealed. Game I played on the Atari 8-bit an absolute ton. I was kind of a Star Trek fan. This is very Star Trek-y. It's, if you can see the graphics, it's very strategic in the way that it's like the Star Trek simulator game that they made for like the PC and the Atari 2600. It has like coordinates and stuff, and you move your little spaceship around to destroy, going from sector to sector, destroy the enemies. Another very obscure RPG for the PC. This is Scavengers of the Mutant World. This is also a factory sealed game. And the last game, this is probably the most expensive game I have in my personal collection by what I'm seeing now with what this game's going for. You never see this game come up. It is super obscure. It's, you don't, like I said, I think there's one copy of this game up, a complete in box copy. Somebody's got it up for like $2,500. I don't think it's worth that. I would probably say this is a factory sealed copy, maybe $1,000. That's Legends of the Lost Realm. This is for the Macintosh. It kind of looks like a Bard's Tale, but the early Macs only had black and white graphics. So, as you can see there, still a very cool piece that I have in my collection. I did not want to lose. So that's part one of the games I tried to save from Hurricane Milton. Again, it was vintage PC games, handhelds, and my Atari 2600 games. There will be a part two for sure. That'll be mostly console stuff. Wanted to give you a little wrap up on this. This isn't all about money. But it was like 56 games in part one, and it was about $6,200 of value in games. So you can see it was some pretty expensive stuff. Doesn't really mean much to me. This stuff means more to me personally than it does for money. So guys, again, thanks for watching.